this is so red. Crazy.
Developed by Crows.
Well, what's that? There you go. Try that. Is that just squishy, smooshy?
Yo,
So much.
those signatures are dope on that too.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
And okay,
I
so
love the God bless you. The writing is awesome.
yes, so this person's on the poster,
Yeah.
but this is Greg Ayers. Greg Ayers' brother is Chris Ayers. Chris Ayers voices Bucky from One Piece and other things. They both are voice actors, but they're both from Richmond. Chris Ayers unfortunately died recently from like a heart attack or something. But so he was the Pope. He's on the poster. He is not on here. This is Mike McFarlane. No, this is Mike McFarlane.
You don't have to explain all of
But this is Cousin Luffy. She voices Luffy. She's the
it. So
biggest.
I don't like that it's asking for my time again. Because it asked for my time last time. And I'm like, why is it restarted?
Oh, maybe it doesn't save stuff.
I don't think it does. Because when I exited out of the game last time, it seemed like I was starting over. This is new. Yo, what on earth? Dude, this is so weird. So I closed the game and I went back to the main menu and it just says begin the game. It doesn't say like, current progress or anything. And so but then when I was leaving the game, there was an option to begin a new game or just exit the game or resume the game. Oh, Waffles, you can do it.
Oh, Butters, you took the whole middle.
Butters!
Oh, Waffles, you in there and make your own spell.
You can do it. He's like, now that Mom's here, I know.
I will take her back by laying in the face.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I'm gonna skip the intro, yes. Welcome back. Trophy earned. Ooh!
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
First time I just went left without even reading the rest of the thing.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley
You go
walked
faster to
upstairs
finish.
to his boss's office.
There was one time when I came in here, and you have to enter a code, and it literally said, okay, you've been here before, I know, and enter the code, blah, 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 let's just open the door. The door opened on its own.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Like, that was the second time I went in here, I was like, I know the code, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in, because it tells me the code. And it was like, didn't even want to let the narrator talk. And I was like, oh my
Feeling
god.
soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Yes. I've gone down the elevator, and then I've chosen to go up the elevator. And then I'll see if it's the same message. It was kind of funny. I probably won't go back out so
Descending
long next
deeper
time.
into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
That's what happens.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Well, I don't like violent death, so I'm gonna go back. Wait, listen. It's hysterical. I've done this one before. And some of this does repeat.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for. Nope, still on board with death.
And then I actually did walk through there once.
Die.
Yeah. But it was really weird. Like, it's on the video,
Lights rose on an
but you probably don't
enormous
need to
room
watch
decked with
it.
television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
There's no sprinting. There's just walking slowly.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
There's a camera out. There's one time I came in here and there's a fired. Can I? Where do we go? Oh, this one.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
So I made an oopsie last time, and I didn't read the screen. And so I saw two buttons, one said on, one said off, and I just pressed on. And then it said, Stanley thought he could take control of the story, blah, 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 blah. He turned the mind control's
And when
powers
at
on.
last he found the source of the
I
room's
just
power,
clicked it.
he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
And thus, that was the first time I basically had to restart because the facility
Blackness.
exploded.
And a rising chill of uncertainty.
I haven't seen this before.
Was it over?
You've never pushed off?
What?
Yes.
I've never gotten back to it.
He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him.
That's just what I was thinking.
Knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
This is not a door. I was like,
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Oh, okay. You won. Stanley's free.
no! And the thing is, despite me putting in the time, it never matters. The time is that time, no matter what.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Back there. Back to your left.
What?
With the door open.
They're all closed. Scared. What's that? That's new content too. What would have happened if I had just pressed off in the first place? I never would have had that whole adventure from last night.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see
Thanks
the
to left
thrilling
turn.
new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere? Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if the... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Yeah, it seems like I think what I've been doing last night may have just been like the first version, and I never actually got into the deluxe part, which is possible.
All right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle. Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Might as well do it. I was like, what if I just continued without it? Can't jump anymore. Alright. That button no longer does that.
Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
No. This is new content.
I said, this is not the same.
Ew!
What?
Look at the painting. That's where I used to exit at. Ew. Ew.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Coffee nut?
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone.
Where did
It's
you
where I've
live?
been storing all my favorite memories
Where did
so I
you
can
live?
relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
What is this building?
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an
They are real,
hour
though.
of new elevator content.
There was another thing last night when I was playing that, it was a building where it showed me, like, old models slash tests and stuff, and like this is what we originally thought this table was gonna look like. Okay, I guess I don't get to go down here.
Here's another moving passage, this time
We've
from
always made them this way.
GameStop.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else.
I didn't
It
find
didn't
that
need
line.
new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Serious room. Okay.
Nothing in it.
Yeah.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is
the
already
shadow
such
on
a
the ceiling.
densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
I've never seen this before. I need to make sure. That I can save everything.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Ew! There's always a chair in the corner.
Did you echo exactly what I said?
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people, and if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no,
I'm
until
wondering what happens if you don't skip.
245.
Because it expects you to skip.
Elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say... Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a faultless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their pressurized gas review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley.
The time is
There's
different.
no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it, and I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking and thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie 9's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie 9. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixating on every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child, wild and impulsive. Oh, Stanley, you're back.
Not the dead plant.
Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button.